getting ready for the Jack Massey fight. Where did Jack Massey come from?
No idea. Um, there we're looking at options of opponents, and I guess Jack Massey had a fight locked in. We're trying to lock someone else in. A few other guys are looking in the heavyweight division, and I think he was begging Boxer for a fight, a big fight. And he wants to put on a show. Obviously, he's from here, so he wanted to get on that card in Manchester. And I think he was begging him for a fight, and he had a fight lined up. And I guess that fight fell through. So I was looking for an opponent. He was looking for one, and he wanted to come up to the heavyweight division. So it's a credit to him for coming up to the heavyweight division and wanting to put on a show.
Joe, you'll obviously be a big favourite heading into the fight. Jack, as you mentioned, coming up in weight. What do you feel you'd have to gain if you're successful in the fight? What do you gain from it?
It's nice to have a fight locked in to start off 2023, and I want to be a lot more busier than I was in 2022. And it's just nice to get out again after a tough fight and a loss.
How much of Jack Massey have you watched or studied?
Nothing yet. I met the guy once when he came and did a bit of sparring and Tyson's gym here in Morecambe. But other than that, I don't really know a lot about the guy. But I've seen, listen, once the fight was made, I started watching a bit of footage on him, the ones that I could find, and also now that the fight's locked in, we'll be watching a lot more. And Andy will be putting things in place for us to come up with a game plan going into this fight.
Joe, I think heading into it, a lot of people will be expecting more of an explosive performance from yourself. As I say, you'll be the favourite going into it. So, for you, especially as you mentioned, you want to be active. Are you looking for an early night's work? Do you think it'll be one which ends inside the distance?
He's not a really small guy. He's quite big himself. So, and he comes to fight, and he's got balls. Coming up to the heavyweight division, and it's not going to be an easy fight for him. Um, so I like to listen. If we can finish it early, it'd be nice. That's what everyone wants, exciting and getting someone out there. But we'll just see how it plays out.
Joe, as you mentioned, obviously you want to be active next year. So looking at other potential names in the division, there's no secret you'll fight anybody you have throughout your career. Ruiz, Joshua, Chisora twice, Dillian, obviously Joe Joyce as well. The list goes on. Aside from anyone you've faced so far, and obviously Tyson because you're in camp with him, what do you think's an achievable fight later on in the year, looking at what could be available?
The one guy that did message me saying he wants to have a fight with was Michael Hunter. So I think if I can get past Jack Massey in good fashion, it'll be nice to lock in a fight with him. And he's done a lot in boxing as well, and he's always game, and he always fights. He fights anyone as well. So I think that'll be a good fight, a tough fight.
I saw Michael Hunter's tweet, in fact, and he said that he turned down the Jack Massey fight because he wanted to fight you, and then you've ended up taking the Massey fight. So can you just explain to us as to why that was?
Listen, I was meant to be fighting someone else, like Andy Lee and David Higgins and Ben Shalom, the whole boxer. This guy were looking at they were looking at guys like Helenius and Washington and Dave Allen, all these other guys, but it just ended up that Jack Massey was the guy.
Did you
Yeah.
looking at potential names, I think one which would be an interesting one, be a difficult fight in itself as well, would be Deontay Wilder. Have you ever thought about a potential fight there? Just trying to think of names you haven't crossed paths with in the division yet.
Yeah, listen, anyone. I know Deontay Wilder just come off a nice win against Helenius in the first round, and it shows that he's still got that big right hand, a big power that he possesses. And if everything goes well with this next fight and so on, if we can make a fight happen, it'll be great. Anyone, I'll fight anyone. So I'm not worried about who's in front of me. Just have to get to work and train hard and put in my best effort when it's time to fight.
On that note, we know how dangerous Deontay is. So just looking at kind of the Joe Joyce fight, going back to it, people wonder kind of how much that might have taken out of you. You showed incredible heart, Joe, to stay in there for as long as what you did. Have you felt any difference when you're back in training? Has the wear and tear all shown?
No, listen, Joe Joyce is one tough guy, and very happy that he got. Listen, he's a nice guy, and credit to him for the performance that he put on. And physically, I wasn't really in the fight physically, but I feel a lot more. Listen, I'm always going to be driven and motivated to continue training and fighting. And it did. It was a tough fight, but I've had a lot of time to relax and recover, and heal. And listen, I'm excited to be back into the ring soon.
Final one from me, Joe, before I pass you on to the other guys. Obviously, you're over here now. You're in camp in the UK. I know you've got family back home, a young family at that. Uh, Talk to me about that and the difficulty you'll find spending Christmas over here as opposed to back home with them.
Listen, I thought it wouldn't be as hard being away from the family with Christmas and New Year's, but the closer we get, I'm feeling a bit like it'd be nice to be home and it'll be great to be with the family and spend time with them. But this is what I do, and I'm thankful to have a wife who's very understanding and very supportive, and kids as well. They're not going to understand fully what I'm doing now, but hopefully in the future they do. And maybe this will be the last sort of Christmas and New Year's away from them, and in the future I'll bring them up with me.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Pass you on to the others.
Thanks, Andy.
Joe, Charlie Parsons, Boxing Social, thank you for making the time for us so close to Christmas. JJ said just before you got on here that you're spending your Christmas with Tyson Fury. What does a gypsy Tyson Fury and John Fury Christmas involve?
So I haven't really been. I'm spending Christmas with a few people.
Okay.
The guy that looks after me here, Joe, and also Spencer Brown, who looks after Tyson, merchandise and everything. And also, I want to be probably having dinner at Tyson's actually. Just normal dinner, and just family time for family. While his family together around and have some fun and enjoy the season.
I know, as you just touched on with Andy there, it is difficult as we get closer to the sort of festive period, being so far away from your family. But do you just have to try and make it a time where, it's full of laughs and sort of a really happy time, so you can sort of recreate that sort of spirit and obviously keep in touch with your loved ones back home?
Yeah, I'm thankful nowadays that we have like video call, so I can see my kids and my wife and parents and family. But I'm gonna make it. I want to make it count being here and being away from my family by training hard and staying focused and not getting sick and just doing everything right. But it is a hard time. But it's one of those things where it's not gonna be like this forever.
As mentioned before, Michael Hunter is a name that's sort of been in and around a little bit on the boxer circuit, but not quite had anything penciled in. He was obviously meant to fight Hughie Fury, and then that all fell through. Look, he obviously put out the thing saying that he turned down Jack Massey for whatever reasons, but he is someone that sort of was at one point, sort of a top 5-6 heavyweight coming off the draw with Povetkin that people thought he won. Recently, it's not really gone his way, whether that being, not getting certain fights or maybe not looking his best. Do you believe that if a fight with you and Michael Hunter was to be made, that you would get the best Michael Hunter back in there and one that was prepared and sort of ready to prove his level?
Yeah, listen, if everything goes well with Jack Massey, I'd like the opportunity to fight Michael Hunter. And I think Michael has done great things in boxing, and he's looked good in a lot of fights. Some fights doesn't look as, but I think it's the level of opponent might lift you to up your game. And I'm sure when he comes back there, he's going to be a better Michael Hunter than he has in the past few fights.
Jack Massey are strong and really good cruiserweight, but sort of threw a lot of us off when we saw the move up to heavyweight. We're not sure just quite how big he'll come in, but we've seen sort of the fights that he's given some of the best cruiserweights in the division. When the sort of name was thrown at you, I know you said you haven't seen too much, but were you a little bit shocked that perhaps he was deciding to make the jump up to get in with the heavyweights?
To be honest, I was a little surprised. We're looking at all these other heavyweights, and they mentioned Jack Massey's name, saying he's probably like the only one that wants to take the fight and lock it in fast. So he was actually begging Boxer, please give me a big fight, give me a heavyweight, so I can fight in Manchester and fight in front of my home crowd.
A photo's been circulating of the two of you. I don't know whether you've shared a small amount of rounds or trained in some form of capacity together. I know it wouldn't have been too much, but like you said, you have had him in Morecambe before. What do you know of him in the ring, and what do you believe will be the biggest test come fight night that Jack Massey will bring to you?
Listen, he's tough. He's tough, and he's got balls. And he's like, obviously he's taking this challenge. He doesn't shy away from challenges, and he's hungry to show his people, what he can do in the heavyweight division. So, but it's he's come up against. I think it's going to be a hard challenge. Like it is. You can sort of take this fight, that fight, and get to the bigger fight. But he's come straight up to top fight. So it's going to be a good challenge for both of us.
Just finally from me, obviously we see Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk are sort of amicable on either side in making the way for the undisputed clash, whether that be Wembley with a record sellout or maybe Saudi Arabia, as previously spoken about. A fight that all boxing purists want to see, and I suppose one that we need to see to cement the number one in the division. If that fight is to be made, sort of how do you believe styles gel, and how does that fight play out in your eyes?
So I don't think there's any point asking me, because I'm just, I'm fully supporting Tyson in this fight. So it's quite one-sided.
You believe it's a one-sided fight? Away from your friendship with Tyson?
One-sided opinion. But I do think that Usyk, listen, he's a great fighter. Look what he's achieved in boxing, cruiserweight, coming up to heavyweight, undisputed. He wants to be what every heavyweight wants to be, champion. And I think he does give Tyson a bit of trouble with the angles and movements. But I just think Tyson's too big, and he'll eventually catch him.
Top man, Joe. Thank you for your time, and have a good Christmas.
Thank you, bro. Merry Christmas.
I'll jump in. Seconds out, Ayman Khan here with Joe Parker. Joe, good to see you. How you doing?
Ayman, good to see you, bro.
Good to speak to you. Just plugging in some of the gaps of some of the questions that was asked. First of all, excuse me, Joe, how do you guard against potentially complacency, given that your record and Massey's record on paper, you've fought two different fighters. He's had to prove himself, but you stand as having the better record of the two. So how do you guard against complacency heading into this fight?
There's no complacency going into this fight. It's like I'm treating this fight like it's every fight now is important. Like every fight's important, not now, but every fight's important, and you have to treat every fight like it's the world championship and like it's your last. And honestly, I'm putting in the work and training very hard. And even though his record is a lot different to mine and the people that would have fought, but there's no, he's showing how confident he is by stepping up to the heavyweight division and accepting the fight straight away, or chasing the fight. Really, it wasn't really a fight that we won because we were looking at other guys, but he was chasing the fight. So at the end, it became clear that I had no opponent, he had no opponent. So why don't we make the fight happen? And so it is. He's full of confidence coming to this fight, and he must be thinking, I'm going to come in there and make a big statement, here in Manchester, in front of my home crowd, in front of my people, but it's not going to happen.
With that said, then, if there's that importance for you on this fight, like you say there is, what's on the line then in your own words?
Well, listen, every fight's important, but like, say I lose to Jack Massey when I'm the favorite to win, then what am I actually doing in boxing? Like, what else can I do? I've already fought a lot of big names and I've achieved being champion of the world, but if I do come away not getting the win, it's going to be a very, very, very tough road back. A lot tougher than what it is now.
When you say tough road back, would retirement be on the table for you should you lose? I know you don't go into the fight thinking about that, but is that, all things being objectively clear, is that on the table?
So I haven't thought about that yet, but maybe if the time doesn't come and it happens, then I'll probably think about it. But for now, I'm more focused on putting in the work and being as prepared as I can be, or being in the best shape for this guy, because he's trying to he's trying to spoil what's in front of me, And I think if I can get a few good wins, I can be right back at the top again. But it just takes time.
Is a passive fighter like Jack's personality harder to kind of rear yourself up for than someone like a Chisora who'll kind of play off you a little bit and maybe give you a bit of extra fire? Is that any difficult?
It can be difficult. Passive fighters don't really create opportunity. Listen, I've been a passive fighter myself a few years back, But I guess it's just about trusting Andy and the game plan that he's going to put in place for a fighter like Jack Massey, if he's passive or not.
Mm-hmm. The size difference between yourself, I think Jack Massey in his last fight weighed 203 pounds. He said to me he's going to weigh a stone heavier for this one. You in your last fight came in around 250 pounds. A big size difference there. With that said, then, do you feel that you have to send a statement because you have those advantages alongside maybe the experience too?
Listen, it'll be nice to send a statement. Yeah, that's the goal. Welcome to the heavyweight division, but maybe it's not the division for you. I don't know. Just and I will be a bit lighter this fight.
Okay. Any reason why?
Nah, just for the whole last camp, I was 250, and a few things happened, and my weight still went up. But usually I was 245, 250. It just shot up in weight. Yeah.
Joe, I just get a final thing from you. I just wanted to get your thoughts on potentially, I don't know if this has been discussed in the gym yourself with Andy, Tyson, John, the situation with Anthony Joshua, kind of picking the brains of a number of trainers. He's over in the USA with Derek James and Virgil Hunter. What's your kind of thoughts as a fighter when a fighter looks to has no set training situation at the moment?
Listen, I think he's done a lot. He's done so much in boxing, being a great champion, and he just has to take time to pick the right trainer for him. One that he gels with, one that he clicks with, and one that he can learn a lot from. And when he finds that trainer and he's comfortable, then then he's gonna announce who he's with. But for now, I think just test him out and see which one that he's gonna be happy with.
Joe, pleasure speaking to you. All the best for your fight, and have a good Christmas.
Yeah. You too, bro.
Cheers.
Joe, I'm just going to jump in, mate. How you doing, first of all? You good?
Me, I am great.
Top man. What is the ultimate aim right now? Obviously, you've been a world champion before. You fought some of the best fighters of this era. This is like a comeback fight for you. But if all goes well, is your aim to start targeting a world title again? Have you got a specific route you want to target with Ben? Have you spoken to him? Or is it just to kind of secure your future even better than it probably already is?
It's just about taking one fight at a time, and getting the result that we need to get. And obviously, every fighter wants to be a champion of the world, 2-time champion of the world, 3-time champion, whatever it is. But in order to get there, you just gotta trust the process and take the right fights at the right time, and get the results that you need. So listen, it'll be nice to be a world champion again, but for now, I'm just focused on the fights that are going to be in front of me and give it everything I have for these fights.
I mean, you will have had Deontay Wilder's name chucked at you numerous times, but let's say in 12 months from now, there's potentially Daniel Dubois, another British fighter that you've obviously not fought. Do them sort of fights appeal to you? Wilder, Dubois, 12 months down the line?
Anyone. If those fights can be made, I'd love to be involved in the biggest fights he can be involved in. Wilder's done a lot in boxing, and he still possesses that big knockout power. I think Dubois was a guy that we wanted as well, but I think with his last fight, he sustained an injury. So there are a lot of fighters out there that we did approach to come back with, but again, Jack Massey is the one that wanted to take the fight and stepped up.
Just last question about your last fight with Joe Joyce. What's the biggest thing you learned about yourself in that fight? Because you really went through the trenches in that, probably more than any fight previously. What's the biggest thing you learned about yourself in that?
I'm a lot mentally tougher than I thought I was. Physically, I didn't have a lot physically in the beginning of the fight, so mentally it took me the whole way. Mental toughness and heart.
Okay, sound top man, and I wish you all the best and have a good Christmas.
Thank you, Brian. Merry Christmas.
Hey, Joe, I'm just going to jump in Max Everett from Sportskeeda here. We talk about fights that everyone wants to see and everyone talks about perhaps too often. Are there any fights that no one really talks about that you would like to perhaps add to your records that you don't really hear about? You hear about the Furies, you hear about the AJs. Are there any fighters out there that you've kind of thought, I want to step in a ring with you, but you don't really hear people clamor for it?
I don't know. That's a good question, that one. I haven't really thought about that. Because you're right, you only think about the big fights and the big names, but you don't really, I'm not sure what other names there are that I would want to fight. Listen, I'll fight anyone there is, but I haven't really thought about that yet. Good question.
Okay, following up from that, obviously you fought AJ before. It didn't go the way you wanted it to. Perhaps you could argue the decision a little bit. Is that a rematch that you're actively pursuing? Like, you're thinking, I definitely want to get my win back there? Or is that, do you feel like that should be left in the past?
Yeah, would have been nice to get a rematch with Joshua and a rematch with Dillian White, and probably in the future rematch with Joe Joyce. I like to fight those guys that I lost to, but before I flew here and before we locked in this fight, my manager did send out a message to Joshua's team asking if they wanted to have a rematch, but no reply. So we are still trying to chase those fights, those rematches, and be awesome if we can, but just up to the fight and their team.
And then the other one I kind of had down was, now Tyson's kind of flip-flopped in his retirement. He's retired, he's not retired, he's fighting Usyk, he's fighting Joshua. But one thing he did mention right at the beginning was that he was looking at exhibition fights. For your future, and when you feel like your time in the, I guess, the legitimate side of boxing is done, are exhibition fights something that you would look to do, just to crowd please, make a bit of money, and fight dream opponents that maybe don't necessarily put up as much of a legitimate fight as others?
And there's some people, in boxing that can do that, and I don't think I'm one of those people that can do that. I feel like after my proper boxing career, that once I retire, then that's me done, and I don't really see myself doing exhibitions in the future if there was a chance to do it.
Okay, thank you. And I mean, the other one sort of tied to that is, do you see a future outside of boxing in perhaps another sport? We see people transition to MMA, occasionally karate and stuff like that. Are there any other striking combat leagues that you think you would like to try your hand at, whether professionally or in a, like I said, in a white collar, but highly promoted setting?
Not so much combat. Maybe I'll go trial to play for the All Blacks, New Zealand rugby team.
Sounds great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, bro.
Joe, Raza here. How we doing, bro?
Good, brother. Raza? Oh, Raza.
Joe, just quick, I just want to talk to you about the heavyweight division. Obviously, Joshua. Looks like he's moving to America, making that move and that transition to another coach. You yourself sacrificed so much by leaving New Zealand, going to Kevin Barry in Vegas, and now coming to America. Do you come to the UK? Do you think it'll be good for him, making that transition away from the UK and his kind of hub and where he's kind of been for the last 10 plus years?
I think change is great. I think change, different environment, different, group around you, probably the same team, but you add a few different people here and there, adding knowledge and wisdom. And I guess change is awesome sometimes. I think it would be good for him.
What the challenge of him going into a potential fight in the new year with, again, a new trainer? He'll be going into a third fight, back-to-back Usyk. He had different trainers. Is it hard to understand the instructions from a trainer, yourself and Andy? Has it taken time to gel? Do you finally have a rhythm now, or was that rhythm there from day one?
No, it takes listen, it takes time to gel with a trainer. And if with me and Kevin, it took us a while to be able to, to follow what he wanted me to do. And with Andy, we had 6 weeks before the first Chisora fight, and it didn't really click. Slowly, there were a few things that clicked, and then I think the second fight, things started to click a bit more. Then obviously, the more you train with the trainer and put in the work, the more you do click, and the more you understand what he's trying to teach you, and take it and put it into practice.
Joe, you've always said to me the goal is to recapture and become a two-time heavyweight champion. Is it important we see Fury Usyk next so we can find out who is the best, and then hopefully from yourselves and the other heavyweights coming up, that the belts get vacated and you all can fight whichever governing body you're highly ranked in?
I think it's important that if we can make that fight happen, so everyone can finally see who is the best heavyweight. It's been going on for years and years and years, and everything has changed. First it was Joshua and then Tyson, and there was Wilder in the picture, but now it's Usyk and it's Tyson. Hopefully we can see that happen, and then it gives us the opportunity for other fighters to fight for the belts once they do get spread around.
Joe, your last fight with Joe Joyce, a lot of people have been sleeping on Joe Joyce for the last couple of years. Everyone's going to be talking about yourself, Wilder, White, Joshua, Fury, etc. But being that you've been in the ring with both Anthony Joshua and Joe Joyce, how much do you rate Joe Joyce and Joe Joyce's ability in the ring?
Listen, he did a great job the night we fought. He was on point. And he put up a great fight, and he did a lot of damage. So I think it's just different times. I can't really compare the two, because in 2018 there was a different fight to when I was, and also the night of the fight, I was, this one was better and this one wasn't, as you know what I mean. So it's quite hard to compare just because of the different times that I was fought in. But in saying that, though, you saw Joe Joyce and what he done, and you can only give him credit, and you can only, he's only going to go upwards from what he's done and getting that win over me.
Thanks, Joe. Enjoy the next couple of days, my man. I know you're not going to dwell too much in Turkey, but yeah, we'll catch up with you in Manchester.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, this is Behind the Gloves. My question is, we see Jared Anderson coming up through the ranks. He's in the, I believe he's in the top 10, if not the top 15. Is that a fight that you would welcome sometime down the road?
Yes, any fight. Jared Anderson's a very talented fighter. I know, and he's making big waves with the fights that he's been, knocking everyone out. So I would fight anyone, and he would be down the road. If it didn't make sense, yeah, we'll take him on as well.
And we know the WBC, the title eliminator between Wilder and Ruiz. How do you see that fight going? See it kind of 50-50. How do you see that?
I think it's a great fight. It's Ruiz has that just that movement. He takes a good punch, and he's a very solid fighter. But then just not sure how he's gonna hold up if Wilder lands that right hand. So yeah, I sort of see it as a 50-50 fight.
And my last question for you, you're playing out for you. Like, what is your overarching goal for 2023 as far as
As far as boxing?
As far as boxing.
Oh, yeah, sorry, 2023. I just the goal is just to keep busy. I mean, 2022 was a very slow year, having one fight, but it would be nice to get 3 or 4 fights. And, I think momentum is the best thing in boxing. When you have fights and keep fighting, keep learning, keep gaining more experience, and you keep working on your ring craft, I think just keeping busy would be great for me in 2023.
Do you have anyone that you have your eyes set on, like as far as an opponent?
Don't have my eyes set on anyone. I think just hopefully can get this fight and get a good win, and then just anyone and everyone, whoever wants to fight and whatever fight makes sense, I like to lock it in.